Taeyong was a nervous wreck. He had a phobia of flying. But when he was with Taeyong and out with vacation, he had taken sleeping pills and had sleep all the way, so nothing was there to worry about. But now, he was with another man, his husband. He didn't know what to do. If he had let the pack his bag, then he would have put some in the air. They didn't want to embarrass himself by telling him that. He would probably laugh at him or think he was weak. But knowing Jungkook, it would not show any reaction, but better safe than sorry. He didn't want to prove himself a weak. He was not stronger for a person, but he was not weak either. And telling Jungkook would only that he was weak. What would he do when plane would take off? When plane would land, they felt like he was going to die today. Jungkook sat beside him, tapping on his phone with one hand and other was resting on his armseat. They wanted to grab it so desperately, but he couldn't, could he? And what about grabbing his hand though? It was just like an arm was rested, so it won't make a difference. They could feel himself panic as he thought about every possible thing that he could be avoid getting scared. They had fear, and that was much bigger than the one. What if Jungkook tried to do something? He didn't trust him. Some part of his brain were telling him that he was being ridiculous, but another part was panicking. He won't be able to defend himself because he would be in the air, thousands of feet above the earth. He won't be allowed. He was scared. They did not trust him. When the captain made the announcement of departure, his heartbeats were quick. They know that he was going to panic. Nothing could stop him. They know he would be embarrassed himself in front of him. Just when his breathing come out shallow, he know the thing were out of control now. They could not do anything to stop his trembling hand and that heartbeat. Out of consciousness, they grabbed Jungkook's hand that was rested on the armchair and squeezed it with all the power he could. His eyelid were getting, but they had no desire to open them because the tears would start falling. They should told him that when he had time. Now the plane was running already and nothing could be done. They thought he was head scared, but his ear was ringing, so he could be sure. What is wrong? Jungkook asked probably because the force of his hand was too much. Hearing his voice, Taeyong opened his eyes and turned his head toward the direction. They could see the confusion in his eyes, which soon turned into a panic, and he glared at his face. What happened, Taeyong? He turned his whole body into the chair to face him and gently squeezed his hand. Oh God, couldn't he see that they were scared? He just had to ask question. I'm scared. I need. They could feel the wetness of his cheeks due to the tear, but he didn't care. He looked like a wimp, or even they was frightened. Out of his mind, he let out a small as the plane was lifted in the air. It's okay, calm down. He nodded and dug his hand, tried to get it out of his grip. I can't calm down, they shouted, and tears were trickled down his cheeks. What was wrong with this man? He was telling him to calm down, when clearly he could see that they was in panic. Jungkook flinched at his voice. Okay, look, just close your eyes and count to 10. It was going to be okay. Do you have any medicines? If yes, then tell me. I will see what I can do. Do. He patted his hand, tried to his own way to calm him down. I can't close my eyes. I just need sleeping pills. That will do. They breathed heavily. They felt slightly bad as he was looking at his face. He looked so panicked and scared. His shoulder was squeezing together. As he examined, there was usually cold eyes in worry. They let go of his hand, feeling that he had burned him with that facial expression. Okay, I will take them, he nodded. If you had told me about the trip, then I would have known. They snapped with his tear on his cheeks. 1 minute and they feel embarrassed, and the next he feel like hitting him. It was all his fault. Taekook ignored his breast out and called that. He talked to her and they sat in his seat, gripping the armseat tightly. He was starting to calm down, but again, the air was in his mind making him shake. When the was looking for medicine, he tried his best to smooth tea, but only got, "Will you shut up? Or will you stop talking in hurry?" He was feeling bad he was being a stupid to him, but it felt good to blame someone and take out his anger on him. The hostess would come back after a few minutes and took two small pills and a glass of water, which they snapped in his hand, and then the water while glaring at him all the time. "You okay now?" He managed to ask in a small voice. After some time, his nails would start digging in his skin. When he went, they realized that he was grabbing his fist again and he was gripping it quite tightly. Fortunately, he sat and noticed his eyelids would become heavy. When he was verge of sleeping, he removed his arm between them and pulled it closer, silently praying that he would obey rather than insulting him. He wrapped his arms around his shoulder and rested his head against his chest. At least they didn't punch him or his eyes out. His breath became even and he realized he was slowly drifted off into a deep slumber. The announcement for the pilot that they were landing, they walked up. He inhaled heavily and then exhaled through his mouth. He was feeling rather fresh and relaxed. He opened his eyes and noticed he was resting on his head, Chang's shoulder while he typing on his laptop. Suddenly they remembered what a fool he had made of himself and groaned. Why did he always lose his sense whenever he had a panic attack? God, how would I face him now? I had been so harsh toward him. I had said wrong and meaning thing, but he was only trying to help me. Why would I say it droll way too much, Mr. John Young? They almost jumped at his voice and lifted his head for his shoulder to look at him. He had that smirk on his face, as his eyes were they, insulting they, with his chin pointed out any single of drawl, but there was none. He was lying. They pressed it and turned his head away from him. He chuckled at him, and that was the first and last one they had heard. And boy, it was good. It was an attractive laugh, but made him blush even more. They cleared his thought and shifted in his seat. They couldn't say anything. It felt like he was there to embarrass himself in front of him. They just prayed that he would not bring up the topic again. The plane came to, and after taking off their seatbelt, they stood up, and soon followed by they walked outside the jet, and the driver welcomed them. Thank God he didn't bring up the topic. It can be scary at times, you know. Oh, there, he goes. They wanted the ground to open up and swallow him. They know he was dead by now. With embarrassment, he couldn't bring himself to look up at him. He watched him through and noted eyes. He looked in front of for a corner of his eyes and noticed a small scratch on his hand. Oh wow, that was cherry on top. It felt like he was just out of labor because he had throw comment at him and also scratched his hands.